And don't say the diagnosis, don't put down, they're here because they have a bladder infection. Well, no, the patient thinks they have a bladder infection or something. Don't give the diagnosis, don't say it's a UTI or you're here for a heart attack. It's just they're complaining, whatever they're complaining about, chest pain, whichever. And it's good to use quotes on those. Now, be very, very careful. Like if someone comes in, short of breath, don't call them an SOB. Okay, people say it all the time. I personally never use that because you and I know that SOB stands for short of breath. But if you go onto Joe's bar on the street, like, wow, you look like you're an SOB. That could be something where you get an eye that looks like mine. So just be very careful how you word things. Try to be as complimentary. I never say, people are fat, people are obese. I've never seen anything like that. They're above their ideal weight. They're not out of shape. They're just not as good a shape as they're going to be. I mean, you just kind of try to use it as if they're your worst enemy and they're going to read this and try to find fault with you. So always be, if you can, at least neutral, if not complimentary. And then the history of the present illness, or the HPI, is a chronological description of the development of the patient's previous signs and symptoms. And so that's also part of where you also look at what their past medical history is. So we'll be going through a lot more in detail for this. There's a lot of what's called HEDIS measures about all these we'll talk about. But in general, that's what the HPI is. So the CC, or chief complaint, the HPI, and then review of systems is essentially a checklist. So say they're coming in for a sore throat, but I still go through all the parts of the body, kind of head to toe. Anything else going on with your head? How about anything with your joints? How about your lungs, your heart? And you just, because you're trying to make sure they get a chance to, oh, that's right, yeah, my hip was hurting too. So the review of systems is something that definitely should be done. The doctor may jump through it pretty quickly. As you become an MA scribe, you can actually ask this. As a scribe, you're not officially supposed to ask it, but you could give them a form that they could fill out, and then you can transpose that. So just understand that those are three big things, and a lot of this comes back to, were you a good doctor? Did you ask all the right questions? Did you ask enough that you could charge for a certain level? And then later on, when the patient comes back again, can you compare what they had with what they have now? So in the HPI, there's elements of like any disease. So think about a knee injury, okay? So what's the severity of it? Meaning, was it mild, moderate, severe? What's the quality of it? Is it burning? Is it piercing? Location? Where's it at? How long have they had it? And do they have other associated signs and symptoms? Do they have fever and chills? I have to tell my bad joke now. This is a little bit racy. So I had a patient come in, and this is why you have to be careful when you're asking the questions, how you ask the question. So again, you guys are all over 18, right? Oh, are you guys all over 18? Okay, so no control. So anyway, everybody has their little story. So lady comes in, got really a painful red knee, and it's hot and it's swollen. And so, I'm a sports guy, so we're thinking, hurt herself, but I don't think she's playing the Super Bowl or anything like that. So she just said, I'm not sure, I just got it. So we tapped the knee. We had asked her questions, do you have this risk factor, that risk factor, all this other stuff. And it turns out, once we, take fluid out of the knee and look at the microscope, she has gonorrhea. She's like this 60-year-old lady with gonorrhea. And we had asked her, are you sexually active? And she had said no. I said, we asked you. He said no. And she goes, well, I'm not. I just lay there. So anyway, so when you say something to a patient, they may interpret a lot different ways. So it's just one of those things, patients are patients, and they never cease to amaze you. So there's modifying factors, and then the whole thing about timing, like did it come on right away, was it kind of gradual? And I'll literally do that. I'll snap my fingers and I'll do gradual. And then what's the context, the certain ways do they travel, all that kind of stuff. So all of these are literally like a detector trying to put stuff together. One of the hardest things for you guys to do is going to be medicine reconciliation. So there's just a bunch of medicines. There's 6,000 medicines. So, and they're going to say a bunch of them. And frankly, from the medicines, you can tell them kind of what they've been diagnosed with. But for you, you're going to have to be looking up a lot of stuff. So there is that one he mentioned is Hippocrates. That's probably the best app to get. So it's called Hippocrates. There's a free form that you guys get, but we have a little advanced one to help us with the diagnosis. But you're always going to be looking up all these meds, and I think it'd be good to just kind of keep learning about those. The big thing is there's a real bad challenge with compliance. Like when patients don't know what they're on, they really have no clue. What we try to get people to do literally is bring everything in a paper bag and just bring it in. So if you get a chance, try to get that as a policy where you're at, like, especially for older people, just bring all your medicines in, like literally take them off, put them in a bag, bring them in, and you can go through them all. Because you just don't know if what they think they're on, they're actually taking, and those sorts of things. There's medicines, as the joke is, the only medicine that you have to take 4 times a day that works is when you don't really need it, because basically there's no way someone can take something 4 times a day. Like every meal and with dinner, it's very, very challenging. We do all this stuff, but you really want to get the medicines correct. If they go to the hospital, they'll be on a bunch of different medicine, and then there is a big deal about us doing medicine reconciliation when they come out of the hospital. So you'll be doing these transitory visits when they come out of the hospital. It's a big deal to see them within 72 hours, because the goal, just like we were talking about, one day that's recommended out of the hospital is $10,000. Like, if we can see them early, we can prevent them from going back to the hospital. And that's where I think you guys come in, is that if we have a good system, if I have bandwidth where I can see a lot of people one day, then I can fit that patient in, and they don't just have to go to me or go to the hospital, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I think you guys as a team, that's why I was showing you all that, really works well. And that allows us then to do that. One of the biggest challenges is trying to get the medicines right. And so that's going to be a big challenge for you. So you're going to be learning a lot of medicine. You don't need to know everything about it. I know the medicine that they're on, and every time you see a patient, my opinion is that you should try not to remember diseases, but remember people. Like, I try to have like a patient for every disease. Then I never have to remember disease, I just remember that patient. Oh, what do you do for like aortic stenosis? Man, I'm a drug user. It sounded like a washing machine. He's a super nice guy. He's got choices. And so that's what, so when someone asks me, I can just go through that. So what you want to do is, like as you're going, you're going to have every day, you're going to have some interesting patients. Try to match that. That's going to be a good way for your memory to kind of sync it together, especially with the different medicines. And if you have any older patients, an older relative, ask them, like, if you have a really old person, ask them how they are. Like, hey, how are you, Grandma? And then sit down. Because everything hurts. And if you have extra time, ask them about their bowel habits, because they love to tell you about their bowel habits. When I was early on in my career, they would bring in Polaroids, because their memories were bad, and they would just, oh, Tuesday was a good poop. Like, look at this guy. And, they're just very proud. It's like they're little kids. Now, unfortunately, they're bringing their cell phones. Like, oh my God, they have like selfies. Look at this. So I don't want to touch that. But just for old people, they love the bowels. So you have your medical history, and that's history both medical as well as surgical. Family history is very important. That's really good to get. And you'd like it at least immediate nuclear family, mom and dad. And don't say non-contributory. That's what you'll hear these little phrases I can throw out there. Ask, is their mom alive? Is their dad alive? If they are, good. And how old are they? That's perfect. But if their dad passed, it'd be nice to know what he passed away of, and when did he first have his medical problem. Same with his mom alive. And then anything else you can get out there. Now, a lot of people don't know their background, that sort of thing, so be very, very sensitive. And then social history, that's the things like, what do you do, what's your ADL, activity of daily living? And for me, I'm always like, how's your, are you on special nutrition, what's your activity, what's your sleep habit like? And then, do you have anything else that you want to sort of talk about? How about with women, we're always asking, any chance they're pregnant? I helped, unfortunately, deliver an 11-year-old girl, which she got pregnant when she was 10. It was a horrible situation. So everybody can be pregnant, so you're just going to be very sensitive about last menstrual periods, how many pregnancies have you had. And there's all ways to do all that. So it's a lot to go over. And so we talked about the review systems. This is a typical way that they would look at it. And they would put negative if you've asked and they don't have it, positive if they do have it, a lot of big words. A lot of people, I think, don't do this as completely as they need to, so we're going to be talking about that. And then we talked about the whole thing. So all of these like review systems are all like checklists. They're just basically trying to get the docs, for us, for not to forget it. And there's a good phrase that says, people who don't, like, especially doctors, people who don't think they need a checklist are the ones that need the checklist the most. So a lot of these are just going to be, like, you just can't miss it. Like, you can't miss if they're allergic to penicillin, you give them penicillin. I mean, all it takes is one mistake. So you'll see the docs being very compulsive about this, and understand you need to match their intensity. You just have to get it right. You can't just be, oh, I kind of thought it. It's got to be exact. So on the physical, they may be yelling things to you, and so you're going to need to know some of the stuff they're going to look at. That's what I'm trying to do, is come up with these little Khan Academy, little YouTubes that you guys can help us with. That kind of at least gets you knowing, okay, someone's going to come in with a sore throat. You're going to look at their submandibular or submaxillary nodes and what they're going to probably say for the physical. So it's going to be a lot to learn. It's like taking a drink from a fire hose, but you'll get it. They'll go over it with you. And what I really like is if you guys can do very little free texting. There's going to be these quick keys and templates we'll talk to you about, but also you can abbreviate. So if you, instead of saying Ryan, you do RT, LT for love. You can do, like instead of regular rate rhythm, you do RRR. I mean, so these abbreviations that you'll get down, but initially it's a lot, but after a while it gets you pretty good. So on a physical exam, then they'll go through every part of it, and depending on how we do this, then you come up with the diagnosis. So that the doctor may tell you what he thinks or she thinks the diagnosis is, and then why they think it's that. So there's something called the MDM, medical decision making. So, like, I think her headache is due to musculoskeletal, doubt, meningitis, or brain tumor, because she has a normal neurologic exam and her muscles are tight. So you'll hear them say that, and they'll essentially dictate that to you, and you'll write that down. Understand the type of medical decision making. Like if someone, just gets a little boo-boo and has a little hangnail, that's pretty minimal. But if someone has a multi-system failure, like I had a girl the other day got hit by a car, like she was walking across it and got hit, and like there's nothing that doesn't hurt her. So it's a very complex case. We have to do a bunch of stuff. And so with all of that, you're going to see these different kinds of decision making. So the doc may talk to you about it's a moderate complexity, or it's a minimal complexity, or straightforward thinking, or moderate complexity. And then this is, I just want to show you what used to be. So this is the plan, but I can actually read this. So it's admit to the hospital, you need a CBC, complete blood count, with a urinalysis. You want a blood sugar, blood sugar, BUN, blood urea nitrogen. Do not say bond. Do not say bond. Just call it BUN. Needs an EKG. What's the difference between ECG and EKG? It's Latin versus Greek. EKG is Greek. ECG is Latin. So just in case you hear that, again, you hate it like I am when I say those things. But that's what that is. This person's on a regular diet, REG diet. That is something. Well, old chart to floor. So you got to go find his old chart and bring it to the floor. And then notify me of when he's actually admitted. So this is what we used to have to do. This is what the nurses used to all have to do. So that's the plan. So that's kind of what they'll just give you a bunch of points. Okay, we're going to do this, 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 and then they sign it. So that's in the old days, but you guys will have other plans that you'll do. So again, the number one thing you guys will be learning is how to do the SOAP note. I think part of it is patient care, like we say, and then part of it is for billing. So one of the things that would be very good for you guys to learn is at least a little bit on billing. So billing, there's two codes you're going to want to know. The ICD-10 codes is exactly what the diagnosis is. So ICD-10 is diagnosis. These are what's called CPT codes. You can't read them at the top, sorry. But in general, for most of the time, the 99214, so like it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you see the last number. So you can see how the complexity, so if you're, most of the time, it's like, if a nurse just sees them, you just have to do this amount. So I can go to an insurance company, turn in my note, even though I didn't do any of this except for just the CC and 2 elements into the history of the present illness. I can do just a little bit of the physical exam. It's a very straightforward thing, and it's 10 minutes. So this could be like, they come in to look at a bruise that they knocked into the wall as they were walking. So it's very, very quick, not really anything. Typically a guy whose wife tells him to go in, he doesn't want to be there, and so we just kind of get him in and out pretty quick, and it's doing fine and that kind of thing. These get a little bit more. There's always a big challenge between a 3 and a 4 as to how many elements you need. So just, and I'm not telling you to memorize it, I'm just letting you know that this is going to be some where they may say it's a 99214, and then you'll put that down. If it's a existing patient, if it's a new patient, it's a 99204. So anyway, there's all these goofy numbers. 5 is really comprehensive. So just understand it's like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They may throw that out at you, and we'll go through that more, but I just want to let you know that these are the things, and those are the things, this is what the scribe needs to know about, is you got to be able to write all these things, make sure that you do enough stuff in the physical. It's a modern history. This is the typical time. You don't have to go by time. Like I never spend 25 minutes with a patient just because I have a team. And so my team might spend 45 minutes with them, but I typically spend a smaller amount of time, and it works out pretty well. I gave you that website. I've been very impressed with that website, so I'd love you guys to scour that, and maybe next time give me your opinion of it, because it's got even some quizzes, some other stuff that you can look at. There's a couple books that I kind of recommend. So there's this one, the Ultimate Medical Scribe Handbook. He's got I think it's has a bunch of series, so there's like ones for primary care, one for emergency medicine. So you might want to pick that up. In general, by far, and again, you guys are over 18, so this is not a G-rated book. But this is by far my favorite book when we're all going through training the House of God. And basically what he uncovered in this was that the secret language of doctors. So we talk about buffing the chart. Like, it really doesn't matter what the patient does, it's how good your chart is. I mean, that's what insurance, that's what the doctors look at, all that stuff. So if you're interested in kind of learning some of the little nuances, those are good books to listen to. Try not to let school interfere with your education. And so, in summary, Temecula Valley Hospital, we started 5 years ago, and we never had paper charts. We just had electronic records, and it's been very, very good. So it's a very techy hospital. We just had a $40 million expansion. A lot of you guys are working in. So, but as a medical scribe, there's a lot to learn. What I'm sort of trying to give you, which you don't get, see, if you go to the ER, they don't even put you through this. They just give you a little bit, and then you go. What I'm trying to do with this is get it so that you sort of see where you guys become part of the system. I think it's a good way for you to figure out, is this the life you want to lead? Because everyone, says, well, you're a little smart, you're really good, you should be a doctor. Well, it's your life to lead, and it's a long road. There's a lot of challenges to it. I like that whole walk a mile in your moccasins. Like, hey, try this, ask the docs, look at the PAs, look at everybody. If I can get you guys to become very good at this skill, I mean, literally you'll save lives, and will actually be doctors' lives. But then the doctor can save people's lives, and everybody wins. So it's very, very hard to learn. It's something we as doctors are really challenged with. If you look at they look at the electronic health records on Saturday night, they call it Dr. Date night, because all of them, the doctors are staying up on Saturday night trying to finish the charts the week before. And it's onerous. I get up sometimes at 3 in the morning to finish charts because my scribes are not that good yet, and I've got to really look at it. So it's a big challenge. So as you guys can get good at this, this could be very good. That being said, you can see that there's a lot to learn. There's not that many scribe books. If anyone's interested in helping me to make these little talks into a book, we could do that, and that's you can tell your resume. So again, I just look at content. If you guys, from this summer, if you get as much content as possible, you want to do experiential learning, but making evergreen content that we can use, like these websites we're talking about with your community health project, or making a downloadable book, or making even a small book that we could do. We're very excited to help you with this. With that, anybody have any questions? Wow, okay, you're really bored. Okay, so bottom line, next time we'll go into more of what's called the templates and actually get you guys doing the scribe as to what you'd be doing. Getting you ready for then, the week after that is when you'll actually get to then take the test, or at least get to start on that. And then once you pass the test, then even your observation hours can count towards your getting to be certified. So going forward, as the summer goes on, Wherever you go, that's what our goal is, to get you guys all certified within the next couple of months. So then you can get a job, part-time job, while you're in whatever school you're at or on your gap year. We have 350 doctors at the hospital. They all need scribes. I have a lot of low friends in high places, or Brooks. So wherever you go, I can find somebody. But if you don't have anybody, again, going back to the 2 rules of medicine, remember, nurses run the universe, nurses like chocolate. So you go to the ED, not the ER, because they have more than one room. Have erectile dysfunction. I don't know. So you go like Tuesday morning and find the charge nurse. You bring her your chocolates and say, hi, it's my family doctor, not very smart, but he said that you guys know everything, and who's a good doctor I could prescribe for? And the nurses know. Nurses know everything. So remember, be nice to the nurses. All right, thank you very much. I appreciate it.